A yard filled with flowers can look beautiful. But the right flowers can do something even more important. They can turn a quiet outdoor space into a living habitat, where bees move from bloom to bloom, butterflies pause in sunlight, and birds return again and again for nectar, seeds, shelter, and insects. Most people choose flowers only for color. But in nature, flowers are not just decoration. They are food sources, landing stations, seasonal signals, and tiny ecosystems working quietly right outside your door. Some flowers produce nectar that bees can reach easily. Some form seed heads that birds feed on later in the year. Others support beneficial insects that help keep the garden balanced without relying on harsh methods. And when these flowers are planted with the right sunlight, soil, spacing, and bloom season, your yard does not just become prettier, it becomes more alive. In today's Smart Gardening episode, we'll explore 10 beautiful flowers that can help attract birds, bees, butterflies, and other pollinators in a natural and practical way. This is not about exaggerated promises. It is about choosing flowers with purpose. Flowers that bring color, movement, sound, and life back into the garden. And make sure you watch until the end, because some of these flowers are surprisingly easy to grow, yet many gardeners overlook them. If you enjoy research-based gardening ideas that are simple, useful, and safe for your yard, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Smart Gardening for more interesting gardening videos coming next. Number 1 is purple coneflower. Purple coneflower is one of those flowers that does not need to shout for attention. It stands upright, steady, and almost architectural, with rose-purple petals surrounding a raised coppery cone. But its real value begins when the garden starts to notice it back. Native to many parts of North America, purple coneflower has long been appreciated in prairie-style gardens because it handles heat, open sunlight, and periods of dry weather better than many softer-looking flowers. For bees, its broad central cone works like a natural landing platform. The flower offers accessible nectar and pollen, especially during summer, when pollinators are actively searching for reliable food sources. Butterflies also visit it often, particularly in sunny gardens where the blooms are planted in groups rather than scattered alone. This flower grows best in full sun, with at least 6 hours of direct light each day. It prefers well-drained soil and is not like sitting in heavy, soggy ground. Once established, it can tolerate some drought, which makes it useful for gardeners who want beauty without constant watering. In the first season, keep the soil lightly moist while the roots settle in. After that, a deeper but less frequent watering schedule is usually better. One of the smartest things you can do is leave some faded flower heads standing in late summer and fall. Goldfinches and other seed-eating birds may visit them quietly, turning yesterday's blooms into tomorrow's bird food. And that is what makes purple coneflower special. It offers color for people, nectar for insects, and seeds for birds, all from one strong flower. The next flower brings a completely different kind of energy to the garden. Number 2 is bee balm. Bee balm brings a very different personality to the yard. Where purple coneflower feels steady and prairie-like, bee balm feels lively, almost wild, with shaggy crown-shaped flowers rising above fragrant green leaves. It is the kind of flower that can make a garden corner feel active even before you notice the visitors. Also known as monarda, bee balm is native to North America and has a long history in cottage gardens, herb gardens, and pollinator plantings. Its tubular flowers are especially useful because they are shaped in a way that attracts long-tongued bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds. Red varieties are often visited by hummingbirds, while pink, purple, and lavender forms can be excellent for bees and butterflies. Bee balm grows best in full sun, though it can handle light afternoon shade in hotter regions. It prefers soil that stays evenly moist but still drains well. This is important because bee balm does not like drying out completely for long periods, yet it can also struggle in heavy, wet soil. A layer of mulch can help keep the root zone cooler, especially during summer heat. One practical detail: many gardeners learn with bee balm is airflow. If the plants are crowded, the leaves can develop powdery mildew. Giving them space, watering near the base, and choosing mildew-resistant varieties can make a noticeable difference. In a wildlife garden, bee balm works beautifully near patios, fence lines, or sunny borders where its fragrance, color, and nectar can be appreciated up close. It does not simply decorate the yard. It helps invite sound, movement, and life into it. The next flower is quieter in appearance, but incredibly valuable for pollinators. Number 3 flower is goldenrod. Goldenrod is often misunderstood, but in a wildlife-friendly yard, it can be one of the most valuable late-season flowers you can grow. Its bright yellow flower clusters appear when many summer blooms are fading, which makes it especially important for bees preparing for the colder months ahead. For years, goldenrod was unfairly blamed for seasonal allergies, mostly because it blooms around the same time as ragweed. But goldenrod pollen is heavier and stickier, designed to be carried by insects rather than floating easily through the air. That small detail matters, because it helps explain why bees, wasps, butterflies, and other beneficial insects gather around it so actively. Goldenrod grows best in full sun and well-drained soil, though many types are surprisingly adaptable once established. In a home yard, compact varieties are often better than aggressive wild forms, especially for small borders. It does not need rich soil or constant feeding. In fact, overly fertile soil can make some varieties grow too tall and floppy. Water it regularly during the first growing season, then allow it to become more self-reliant. When planted near coneflowers, asters, or native grasses, goldenrod creates that natural meadow look that feels relaxed but still intentional. Its value does not end with bees. The insects it attracts can become food for birds, and later in the season, its seed heads add texture and habitat interest. Goldenrod brings a final golden chapter to the garden year, a reminder that yard can still feed life even as summer begins to close. The next flower adds height, bold color, and one of the strongest bird connections in the garden. Number 4 is sunflower. Sunflowers have a way of changing the mood of a yard almost instantly. Their tall stems, broad leaves, and bright golden faces create height and structure, but their real importance is much deeper than their cheerful appearance. Native to North America, sunflowers have been grown for centuries for food, oil, beauty, and wildlife value. In a pollinator garden, they are especially useful because each sunflower head is not just one flower. It is actually made up of many tiny florets packed together in a spiral pattern. That means bees can spend a long time working across one flower head, collecting nectar and pollen from dozens of small blooms. Sunflowers grow best in full sun, and they need at least 6 to 8 hours of direct light to develop strong stems and large flower heads. They prefer loose, well-drained soil, and while they can tolerate some dryness once established, young plants need consistent moisture as their roots develop. Taller varieties may need protection from strong wind, especially in open yards. For birds, sunflowers become even more valuable later in the season. If you leave the heads to dry naturally, finches, chickadees, cardinals, and other seed-eating birds may visit for the nutritious seeds. This is where the flower's purpose changes beautifully. First feeding bees in summer, then feeding birds as the garden begins to slow down. Plant sunflowers along fences at the back of borders or in sunny open patches where their height can become part of the landscape. They bring color, food, and a sense of abundance that feels unmistakably alive. The next flower is smaller, but it can turn a garden into a butterfly magnet. Number 5 is zinnia. Zinnias may look simple at first glance, but in a summer yard, they can become one of the busiest flower stations for butterflies and bees. Their bright, open blooms make them easy to spot from a distance, and unlike some delicate flowers, zinnias keep producing color through heat when many garden plants begin to slow down. Originally native to Mexico and parts of the southwestern United States and Central America, zinnias have become a favorite in American gardens because they are reliable, colorful, and surprisingly useful for pollinators. Single and semi-double varieties are especially valuable because bees and butterflies can reach the pollen and nectar more easily. Very dense double blooms may look dramatic, but they can sometimes make access harder for insects. Zinnias need full sun to perform well, ideally 6 or more hours of direct light each day. They prefer well-drained soil and do not like wet leaves sitting for long periods. So watering at the base is a smart habit. Once they are established, they can handle summer warmth beautifully, but young seedlings need steady moisture while their roots develop. One of the best ways to grow zinnias is in clusters or patches rather than isolated single plants. A group of blooms creates a stronger visual signal for butterflies and also gives a yard that cheerful living garden feeling. Deadheading can keep flowers coming longer, but leaving a few seed heads near the end of the season may also offer interest for small birds. Zinnias bring a relaxed kind of abundance, bright color, easy care, and constant pollinator activity. The next flower adds fragrance, vertical beauty, and a classic cottage garden charm. Number 6 is salvia. Salvia brings a tall, elegant rhythm to a pollinator garden. Its flower spikes rise above the leaves like small columns of color, and that vertical shape makes it easy for bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds to notice from across the yard. Garden salvias include many species and varieties, but the ones most useful for wildlife usually share one important feature: tubular flowers rich in nectar. These narrow blooms are especially attractive to long-tongued bees and hummingbirds, while shorter varieties can still bring steady activity when planted in sunny borders. Blue, purple, red, and pink salvias each add a slightly different mood, but all can help create a more active flower bed when grown in groups. Salvia performs best in full sun and well-drained soil. Once established, many types are fairly drought-tolerant, which makes them useful in hot summer gardens. They do not appreciate heavy, constantly wet soil, so drainage is more important than extra fertilizer. Too much feeding can sometimes produce soft leafy growth instead of strong flower spikes. A light trim after the first major bloom can encourage fresh growth and sometimes a second flush of flowers. This makes salvia valuable because it can extend nectar availability across more of the season, especially when paired with flowers like zinnias, coneflowers, and bee balm. Salvia is also a smart choice near walkways or patios because its upright form gives structure without overwhelming the space. It adds color, texture, and a steady food source, the kind of flower that quietly keeps a garden alive with visitors. The next flower offers a softer, meadow-like beauty with a strong connection to butterflies. Number 7 flower is New England aster. New England aster has a quiet way of arriving late in the season, just when many gardens begin to lose their color. Its purple, lavender, or pink daisy-like flowers appear in clusters, creating a soft meadow feeling that looks natural rather than overly arranged. In a pollinator-friendly yard, this timing is what makes asters so valuable. Bees and butterflies still need nectar in late summer and fall, especially as many earlier flowers fade. New England aster helps fill that seasonal gap, offering an important food source during a period when pollinators are preparing for migration, nesting cycles, or colder weather. Monarch butterflies are often associated with asters because these flowers can provide late-season nectar during migration periods. This flower grows best in full sun, though it can tolerate light shade in warmer areas. It prefers moderately moist, well-drained soil and usually performs better when the roots do not dry out completely for long stretches. In richer soil, it may grow tall, so cutting the stems back once in early summer can help create a bushier, sturdier plant with more flower-bearing branches. Asters are especially effective when planted in groups near goldenrod, coneflowers, or native grasses. The combination gives the yard a layered, natural look while supporting a wider range of beneficial insects. Birds may also benefit indirectly, because insect-rich plantings can support the small food web that many garden birds depend on. New England aster is not the loudest flower in the yard, but it may be one of the most important near the end of the season. It keeps the garden useful, beautiful, and alive when summer is beginning to fade. The next flower brings fragrance, color, and a classic charm that pollinators notice quickly. Number 8 flower is lavender. Lavender brings a calmer kind of beauty to the yard. It does not create the big, bold drama of sunflowers or zinnias, but its slender purple flower spikes, silver green leaves, and clean herbal fragrance can make a garden feel thoughtful and well cared for. For pollinators, lavender is more than a pleasant scent. Its small tubular flowers can provide nectar for bees, especially when several plants are grown together in a sunny, open location. On warm days, it is common to see bees working slowly across the flower spikes, moving from one tiny bloom to the next. Butterflies may also visit, though lavender is especially known for attracting bees. Lavender has a long history in Mediterranean gardens, where it evolved around sun, heat, and lean, well-drained soil. That background tells gardeners almost everything they need to know. Lavender does best in full sun, with at least 6 hours of direct light each day. It prefers soil that drains quickly and should not be overwatered. Heavy clay, soggy roots, and too much fertilizer can weaken the plant and reduce flowering. In humid areas, spacing matters. Good airflow around the stems helps prevent disease, and planting lavender slightly raised or in a gravelly bed can improve drainage. It works beautifully near walkways, patios, herb gardens, and dry borders where people can enjoy the fragrance up close. Lavender is valuable because it supports bees while also giving the garden structure, scent, and a sense of quiet elegance. The next flower brings a brighter, more cheerful energy and is often loved by both gardeners and pollinators. Number 9 flower is Black-Eyed Susan. Full script 12 cinematic image prompts Black-Eyed Susan brings a kind of warmth that makes a yard feel instantly more natural. Its golden yellow petals and dark central cone look familiar, almost like a small piece of meadow sunlight held above the soil. But behind that simple beauty is a flower with real habitat value. Native to much of North America, Black-Eyed Susan is commonly used in pollinator gardens because it blooms to the heat of summer and asks for very little once established. The open flower shape makes it easy for bees, small butterflies, and beneficial insects to land and feed. That dark center is made of many tiny flowers, each offering pollen or nectar in a way that supports repeated visits throughout the day. This flower grows best in full sun, though it can tolerate light shade. It prefers well-drained soil and is fairly adaptable, which is why it appears in cottage gardens, meadow borders, roadside plantings, and wildlife-friendly yards. During the first growing season, regular watering helps the roots settle in. After that, Black-Eyed Susan can handle dry spells better than many more delicate flowers. One of its strongest connections to birds comes later, after the petals fade. If some seed heads are left standing instead of being cut back too early, finches and other seed-eating birds may visit them in late summer and fall. Black-Eyed Susan is not a complicated flower, and that is part of its strength. It offers color for gardener, food for pollinators, seeds for birds, and a relaxed prairie-style feeling that makes the yard feel less empty. The final flower on this list is one of the most powerful choices for butterflies and pollinator life. Number 10 flower is butterfly weed. Butterfly weed is one of the most meaningful flowers you can add to a wildlife-friendly yard. At first, it catches attention with clusters of bright orange blooms, but its real value is tied to one of the most important relationships in the garden: the connection between milkweed flowers and monarch butterflies. Butterfly weed, also known as Asclepias tuberosa, is a type of native milkweed found in many parts of North America. Its flowers provide nectar for bees, butterflies, and other beneficial insects, while its leaves can serve as a host food for monarch caterpillars. That makes it different from many flowers that only feed adult pollinators. Butterfly weed can support part of the butterfly life cycle when it is grown in the right region and conditions. This flower grows best in full sun and dry to medium, well-drained soil. Once established, it handles heat and dry spells very well, but it does not like heavy, soggy ground. In fact, overwatering is one of the easiest ways to weaken it. Because butterfly weed develops a deep taproot, it is best planted where it can stay for many years without being moved. In the yard, it looks beautiful in sunny borders, meadow-style gardens, and naturalized areas with coneflowers, black-eyed Susans, and grasses. Its orange flowers bring strong color, but the scene becomes even more powerful when bees and butterflies begin visiting. Butterfly weed reminds us that the best flowers are not only beautiful to look at, they also have a role in the living system around them. And when chosen thoughtfully, even a small yard can become part of something larger.